I'm Catharine Hays. I'm the Executive Director of the Wharton Future of Advertising program.
Jerry Wayne, the Lauder Professor and Director of the SAI Center for Advanced Studies Management at Wharton, which started the program on the future of advertising.
If you imagine 8 years ago, which was 8 years prior to when we started the project, there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was no YouTube, there was none of that sort of thing. So just from a media perspective, there was also not the kind of awareness and transparency that exists today. So in fact, we think that the advertising in 2020 could look very, very different.
We suggested in our talk that advertising will focus much more on our acronym RAVE, which means it will be much more relevant and timely, it will be much more actionable, it will be much more valuable to the consumer and provide a real experience. So if you look at this from a consumer point of view, we really kind of expect advertising to be much more valuable, much more experiential, much more relevant to what they're doing. The challenge is, how do you get there? And that's basically where a lot of our research is on and what we're trying to suggest in terms of what are the type of actions companies have to do to try to provide this type of advertising and truly engage the consumers with them. How to create the link with the consumer as opposed to this partial approach. Start experimenting with some of the newer things, such as open innovation, such as how do you create all touch points advertising as opposed to just focusing on the media part of it and the like.
One area in particular that we think, I'll just sort of pick one out and Jerry can mention some of the others, is to take responsibility and to take understanding of the social impact that advertising has. We all know what an amazing influence it has on culture, on the dynamics. And if we think about what the potential for that is in terms of society and having those messages be much more powerful and impactful so that the purpose and the objective of them is clearly for the bottom line, really to do what the business is intending to do, but also, as Jerry said, what the impact is on the people who are hearing and seeing those messages, and finally, by extension, what that means for society as a whole.
Let me take another kind of aspect of this. Fully agree with Catherine, but I think the agencies really don't have a choice. I think the agencies, if they are to survive and still be major players in 2020 or even on the way to 2020, they have to change. The agencies today, especially the holding companies, are no more than a Wall Street play. They're really not providing the needed integration. So even though they have all the components, they're never integrating them. Each one of them is a profit center competing with the others. How can we start moving towards a situation that the agency will be a truly network orchestrator, really orchestrate all the touch points, including the PR, the packaging, the product design, the retail, the sales force, and the like. You need a way of someone who takes the role of the integrator. And if the agencies will not do it, someone else will do it. Now, a lot of CMOs claim that they want to do it, but they don't have the time. So will they be able to do it? Will be some new type of agency that emerge out there. And you can start seeing already the beginning of creative agencies who are basically trying to take this role of integrator in small ways. So I think there's huge opportunities here for agencies to reinvent themselves, to reimagine what they can be, to try to follow our suggestion of the Agile chops for any of these 10 guidelines and start experimenting with this and coming up with new type of agency.
I'm not sure what the difference is between them. I think that the new technologies offer just fantastic new ways to be creative. Jerry was talking about one of the key notions that we talk about is context in this concept of Agile chops. Context means what the weather is, what the mood of the person is, who they're with, what time of day it is. So all of those different elements that make whatever the message is really, really meaningful. And in fact, technology enables that. So we see that, those creatives who embrace it and those technologists who embrace it, who see that as an incredibly symbiotic, fun new opportunity and don't see narrowly, we were talking about mental models, and have a mental model that says this is wonderful, are really going to thrive in it. Great opportunities.
Great example is Crispin Porter actually started putting together teams. And the creative teams they have is not only the traditional copywriter and the art director, but include the technologist. I think that's the future.
From the outset.
From the beginning. So the creative team from the beginning include the technology, and you have to, technology is basically an enabler, and you have to make sure that you are capitalizing on this. But the challenge is people's comfort with this. And what you need is you need to basically start creating those truly integrated teams of the technologists and perhaps more than one technologist, because there are different expertise within the kind of this broad range of technologies, together with the creative and together with the strategists, and coming up with this integrated solution.